Heyo, it's Omnidog here with another root beer review. This time, Hickman's Avengers 1 Omnibus. Ay, ay, ay. First, let's check out the root beer I've got to sample. Dang, as Napoleon Dynamite would say. It says the original dang that's good root beer. Dang, dang. Whatever I feel like, gosh. Okay, so we'll open this up. Give it a whiff. Smells promising. Smells like root beer. Good foamy taste. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. It's got some caramel aftertaste to it. It's actually. Actually, that's pretty good. At first, I thought it had a little metallic aftertaste, but it's got caramel notes afterwards. So, dang, that is pretty good root beer. I will be going back to Frost Top after this, but um, it was good to just sample a few new ones. So let me take another swig because I'm still on a diet and I can't really have too much of this. So here's my attempt at reviewing Hickman's Avengers Volume 1. This thing is epic in scope. There's no way I can properly break it down and tell you exactly what it's about because there's like four different major story arcs going on, and it continues into Volume 2, which I'm just starting. So let's do the easy part first and check out some of this amazing art because that is consistent through the whole book. It has amazing art. That's the superflow, which I will get to. But this book has shockingly great art throughout the whole thing. They do not drop the ball. They have assigned their best artists to this. Um, and it is really, really well done, spectacularly colored, and the lettering is really cool because we deal with a lot of alien languages, and Thor's in it, so you got to have his special lettering because he's the Odin son and so forth. But this is really amazing artwork. So high marks on the artwork. Now let's get to the book itself. It's a very epic in scope book. Marvel basically handed the keys to the Marvel Universe to Jonathan Hickman and said, write it, end it. Because this is the beginning of the end of the Marvel Universe. No surprise, it happened a few years ago. The universe ended. So this can be called Everything Dies. Because in this book is the beginning of the end of the Marvel Universe. I'm not giving away anything because we already have had like two new reboots of Marvel ever since, I think, since then. So this book doesn't deal with how much doesn't deal much about life, and how we deal with it, but how we handle death. And it's major players in this book include an amazing amount of characters, and the Illuminati play a huge role in this. And if you're not familiar with the Illuminati, let me show you a picture of them. Captain America, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, Prince Namor, and Black Bolt, and T'Challa. T'Challa's not in this picture, but he's in it. There's the Illuminati. They make all the life or death decisions regarding the world in secret. So, I imagine Jonathan Hickman's house is entirely like a detective's office trying to put together a crime scene with pieces of paper all over the place with strings attaching to this plot point and that plot point because it has so many different things going on in it. It's not It's not intimidating, but you have to read it all together. This omnibus is the perfect way to read it. I know it's slightly out of print now. If you can't get it, it's still available in the oversized hardcovers, which is a good way, or on Comixology. But whichever way you decide to read it, you can't really take breaks. You have to read it all the way through in a couple sittings because so much goes on in it, you'll forget what's going on. And have to go back and say, wait, who's this? What happened? Because a lot of new characters are introduced. A lot of things happen. And I'm going to try and run down. I took notes for all the good it's going to do me. But a lot of things happen in this book that affect the Marvel Universe. They, as I said, they gave him the keys to kill the universe. And it starts out with these incursions. Um, Worlds are colliding. Like all of a sudden, another Earth appears out of the sky and is getting ready to either crash into ours, or that Earth has to be destroyed so this Earth can save itself. And that's part of what the Illuminati struggles with, is the moral dilemma of destroying another world to save this world. And one of the coolest new characters introduced, and she's called the Black Swan. She's kind of the focal point for these incursions because she knows all about all this stuff and knows how to destroy another Earth. And this involves T'Challa in the beginning, Black Panther. So she's a really cool new character that's introduced. Another new character is Captain Universe that's introduced. As far as I know, she's introduced in this book. Maybe she's from somewhere else, but she's a major character as kind of the mother of all creation in bodily form. Takes over the body of a woman, and she's like all knowing, all seeing. So she's in this, and just about every Avenger you can think of is going on, because not only is this book Avengers and New Avengers, but it's also got the Infinity event in it. So what we have here is 3 or 4 major arcs, and I will give him credit, he has weaved these together seamlessly. It may seem like a lot, it may seem intimidating, but just give it a chance and read through it, and all gets tied together. But there are major plot points that I can tell you about. The first is the incursions of the Earths. The other one is Ex Nihilo and Abyss. These creatures who are have the ability to create life. They're camped out on Mars, and they've tried to make the Earth itself sentient, a living Earth. So there's another plot point, how the Avengers deal with that, because it's a little bit destructive. There's a lot of destruction in this book, I can tell you that. Then we go into outer space physics, because there's something called the superflow, and these machines in there that the builders have built, like the builders of creation. It took 1,000,000 years to create the superflow, and it worked for 1,000,000 years. And it deals with creating life and the universes, and there's a problem because everything's broken. The universe, all universes are broken. The superflow's messed up, and I'm not doing a good job explaining this, but everything is broken, basically. You get another couple characters introduced, Starbrand and, oh boy, I'm going to botch this one. I think it's Night Mask, who's are sent, created by Abyss and Ex Nihilo. They are created to when a white event occurs. And a white event, see, probably the less I tell you, the better, because I'm going to mess you guys up. A white event occurs when you're creating life, but something goes wrong with this white event, and Starbrand and let me get his name right, because he's a major character. I wish I had. Okay, there we go. One second. They called him Night Mask. Yes. Okay. I can show you. Here's a picture of Captain Universe and a picture of Night Mask. There's Captain Universe and Tony Stark, and there's Night Mask. I'll show you a better picture of Night Mask. Here, this is all about him. He's a bit of a herald, and he's here to tell us that things are broken. So you've got that going on. They are there essentially to help the creation of a world. Something's gone wrong there. As I said, the white event is broken. You've got the superflow being broken. This is very much an epic space opera, because while they are out trying to, you've got several teams working, trying to decide what to do when another Earth shows up, because it starts happening. It's not supposed to happen, but all of a sudden it starts happening. Every 8 hours, another Earth is going to appear, getting ready to crash into this one. And the Illuminati have to wrestle with how to deal with that. You've got major space battles happening. Then you've got Thanos, who's all of a sudden decided he wants to find his son on Earth and kill him. In this book, we also have the Terrigenesis bomb being set off by Black Bolt, creating all kinds of Inhumans. One of them is Thane, the son of Thanos, who gets turned into an Inhuman. And so we have the Infinity event to deal with in this book too. But I'm telling you, it weaves together really well. There's good character development. There's good interaction between the characters themselves. It's huge in scope, but it's super interesting. It's got funny bits. There's a bromance between Hyperion and Captain America. There's a bromance between Sunspot and Cannonball. There are all kinds of alien races involved that Captain America's got to deal with to try and convince them to help him out in outer space. So probably the more details I bog you down with, the worse, because it sounds like just a bunch of nonsense happening, but Hickman takes it and weaves it together into a awesome book. I've been reading comics a long time. I'm not trying to get gatekeepery here, but this is the most impressive book I've ever read. Oh, and like a third of the way through it, Peter Parker becomes Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock. So you'll notice an immediate change in his tone of voice and character. So it needs to be read continuously. It needs to be, you may need to go over it a couple times. This is high level stuff that Hickman's written. It is a book that deals with how we deal with death and the reality that everything dies. No matter how we try and stop it, everything eventually dies. Even the sun's going to go out at some point. So I know I'm old, but I'm not old enough to have witnessed the beginning of the sun. So shut up. So this book, as I said, is an amazing achievement. Do anything you can. Now, can a new reader read this and be okay with it? I don't have a huge background in Avengers. I do know the basics. I do know the Illuminati exist. I do know all the various characters. So to get into this book, the only thing really that I remember that it carries forward from Fantastic Four by Hickman was the bridge that Reed built. But that's, I mean, it appears by itself, and you don't have to have prior knowledge. I can see how a new reader might be overwhelmed by this book. So, if you want to tackle this book and you haven't read a lot of Marvel, you may want to Wikipedia it first to get a better explanation than I'm giving you, because that will put things in order for you. Now, I will say I haven't read a whole lot of Avengers, and it's not a secret that I haven't read a whole lot of Marvel. I've only been reading Marvel um, con- consistently for probably the past 5 years. I grew up a DC guy, so I was able to understand it. I was able to go through with it. I will say it's not as complicated as an X-Men storyline, that's for sure. So if you have basic Marvel knowledge, you will be okay. But prepare yourselves because it's a challenging book. And that's what we want. We want a smart comic book that challenges us, makes us think of what's interesting, what makes a comic book interesting, and this book has it in spades. This is a book that will challenge you to stretch your mind. It doesn't just push the envelope, it tears the envelope up and goes just way outside it. So don't be intimidated by this book. I think you can read it standalone without any prior knowledge, but understand that there's a lot on being given to you here by Hickman, who is an amazing writer. I mean, this guy, his brain is. I wish every comic book writer had his brain. Although I guess if we didn't have crappy comics, maybe we wouldn't know what good comics were. This is a good comic. This is one of the greatest things I've ever read. And it does have, as kind of a funny uh, tag on at the end, two uh, comic books thrown in there that that Hickman wrote. They're not essential to the story. They don't have anything to do with the story, but they're Marvel books that Hickman wrote, and they're kind of just thrown in there. Also thrown in there is a book that, if I understand the explanation right, was available digitally only, and they threw it in here. It involves the Silver Surfer and the Kree, I believe. Here's a picture of that. And this was also by Hickman, and it's thrown in there too. The stories that were thrown in there that have nothing to do with New Avengers are a team up of Shang-Chi and Deadpool, and it's actually pretty funny. And then there's another book about Cannonball, Bobby and Sam, Cannonball and Sunspot, and an adventure they go on. Here's a picture of that. They deal with Mojo in Mojo World. They're not essential, but they're fun. And I mean, this is a big book. It took me a while to read this book. Somehow I'm supposed to get Avengers 2 read by tomorrow so I can appear on Omar's show. I got a bad feeling that's not going to happen. Because if Avengers 2 is anything like Avengers 1, it's going to take me a while. But the main takeaway is great book, fabulously plotted, well written, brilliant art, nicely lettered, and very comprehensively plotted. This is a huge effort that Hickman went through. He thought this thing way out. Marvel trusted him enough to give him the keys to end the universe, and he's doing it spectacularly. And I don't want anybody out there to be afraid of this book. It is a big book, but it is a fantastically written, really well done book that really rewards the reader taking his time to go through almost the perfect comic that the medium has to offer. Some people may have quibbles with it. That's fine. They're on a different channel. Not this guy. I have no quibbles with this book. So I hope I didn't muddy it up with too many plot details. I hope I gave you kind of the tools to arm yourselves and go in and read what I consider to be one of the best things ever written. Now, is it irredeemable? Nothing's irredeemable. I love Irredeemable. That's also extremely well written. But for a Marvel book To me, this is the best Marvel book ever written. And admittedly, I've only been reading Marvel for 5 years, but I do have a little bit of working knowledge of Marvel. Um, so there you have it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know about it in the comment section. Please feel free to subscribe and like my video. And if you feel this video fell short at all, you can tell me. I tried to give some details, and the review is from my heart, so I tried to give some details, but I really wanted you to know just what an excellent, excellent book this is and how you really need to go out and read it. So until next time, now I'm really thirsty. And another root beer review. This is Omnidog signing off.